Hello and welcome to another Sprues and Brews unboxing. Today we're looking at the Soulblight Gravelords Deathrattle army set for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So first of all I want to say a massive thanks to Games Workshop for sending us a free early review copy to check out on the site. In the video we're going to be having a look at the contents of the Deathrattle box, having a look at all the sprues of the new kits in there, and then we'll be checking out the new Battletome, seeing what's changed if anything in the Soulblight Gravelords list, checking out the stats of the new units, and then in the second half of the video we'll be having a look at these models when they're built and painted. But yeah, this is an exciting one. We've had a couple of army sets come out this year for Age of Sigmar. We had the Git mob recently, which is a really cool set, and this is following off with a box of brand new models for the Soulblight Gravelords. As kind of given away from the title of the box, Deathrattle, they are all Deathrattle units. They are kind of reimagined Grave Guard. So yeah, really, really cool stuff. And if we flip this over, we can see what we get inside. So we get a brand new Wight King on Skeletal Steed, which is a really, really cool model. We get 5 Barrow Knights, which are a brand new unit, kind of introducing this book. I guess they're a spiritual successor of the Black Knights, which I'm guessing are probably going to get discontinued. But they look really nice. They kind of keep the same aesthetic as the rest of the Barrow Guard. And then yeah, 20 Barrow Guard models, enough to build 2 units. And then on top of that we get the full Soulblight Gravelords Battletome and a full set of War Scroll cards as well, which is something they've done in all these recent army sets, having the kind of the full army's worth of War Scroll cards in there, which is a really, really nice touch. Now this retails at £145, which seems a pretty decent price given the content. You know, considering it's got the limited edition Battletome and the cards in there too. You seem to get a lot of bang for your buck compared to some of the boxes that we've had this year where you've got quite kind of light model count. There seems to be a bit more in here compared to say like the Git mob one, for example. But yeah, let's crack this open and have a look at what is inside. So yeah, I'm looking forward to working on this one. I've got a Soulblight Gravelords army and I really like the look of all the new Barrow Guard stuff. So I'm very tempted with this as like a foundation to put together a full list of skeletons and wights and stuff, maybe a vampire and dragon leading them, something like that. But yeah, let's have a look at the new kits. So if we jump in here, I think on the top here we've got the new Wight King, and this is a very, very nice model. So yeah, they've all got kind of like Bronze Age armour on. I guess that makes sense if they're kind of coming out of barrows. But very good. I believe this kit builds 2 different units. So you've got, I think it's a Wight Lord and a Wight King. We'll see them in a little bit when we go through the Battletome in a bit. But yeah, that does give you some options. It also means that if you've got the previous Wight King model, you might be able to use that as the other build. I think you'll probably need to rebase it because I believe this guy's on a slightly bigger base. But he looks really dynamic, really like him. And then the second half of that kit there, it's got the other half of the horse. Looks like there's multiple different heads as well, so I think if you do build both the characters, they are going to look different, with the riders looking slightly different and the head of the horse looking slightly different. So that is cool for a modular kit. Next up we'll have a look at the new Barrow Knights, I think they're called. And this is your new skeleton cavalry for the Soulblight Gravelords, and again, they are a massive upgrade from the old Black Knights, which were really dated. I mean, they were a Warhammer Fantasy kit. So these have kind of been brought in line with the aesthetic that they started with Curse City and all those recent kind of waves of Soulblight Gravelords miniatures. They're all now kind of tying together with this look, which looks really, really nice. I'm looking forward to building these up and painting them to match my Curse City collection. You get the rest of the sprues here for the rest of the unit. And it looks like they'll go together fairly easily as well. It's not as if they're going to be more difficult because of the new kit, but there's some nice details there with the banners and the command on there. Even the squad leader looks like a really, really nice model if you've seen the previews on Warhammer Community. So yeah, very, very nice. I'm looking forward to building these ones. And then the rest of the box is 20 of the new Barrow Guard. So these, I guess, are the replacement of the Grave Guard. Again, Grave Guard were another really old kit that existed in Warhammer Fantasy, and these have been given a new lease of life with awesome new kits. They have got options for sword and shield or a two-handed weapon. From a rules point of view though, it doesn't matter, they're both the same. So it looks like you get 4 sets of identical sprues, each of them building 5 models. And then yeah, you've got lots of options on there. So for the purpose of this box, I think I'll probably build 10 with sword and board and 10 with two-handed weapon. Obviously you can just mix and match them in a unit if you want to. Let's face it, I'll probably end up having 2 units of 20 of these in the army when it's finished anyway. I've got some old Grave Guard that I could use to kind of sprinkle into the units and add some variety. I think it kind of fits if they've got kind of disjointed weaponry as well, because these guys have been buried for so long and they've just been raised from the grave and they've got whatever weapons they're carrying on them. But yeah, very, very nice kits. I love the shields. I think if you did them all kind of like bronze with kind of verdigris weathering on them, I think they look really, really good. So yeah, you get 4 kind of sets of these, which is enough to build 20 models. And like I say, you can build that as 1 squad or 2 squads. Obviously in Age of Sigmar, it doesn't matter if you've got multiple banners and the like in the same squad either, so that's not an issue. Obviously that's all the minis in the box though, so we'll dive into what else is in here. So we do of course get bases for everything. It looks like the cavalry are on the same basis as the old Black Knights, and then I think we've got 28mm bases, but don't quote me on that, for the yeah, they look like 28mm bases for the Barrow Guard, and then a bigger base for the character. That's definitely bigger than the one that the old Wight King on horse was on. So yeah, if you've got the old one, you might need to rebase it, but it should be a fairly easy job. And then as ever, all the card materials come in a really nice slipcase with this kind of really nice artwork on there. They've been kind of trying to reduce on single-use plastic in a lot of their kits recently, and one of the solutions is these really nice cardboard sleeves to kind of put all the paper materials in. And in here we get, if we open this up, the Battletome with its really, really nice limited edition cover and gold foiling on the edges. We'll have a look at this in a little bit on the video, but first we'll have a look what else is in here. We get the instructions and we get a full set of War Scroll cards as well. So we won't look at all of these now because we will go through all the profiles in the book, but essentially this is a full set of War Scroll cards for everything in the Battletome, which is really handy. I'm a big fan of War Scroll cards. I like to have them on the battlefield so I can see what all my units do during games. I don't know if I like these smaller tarot card format ones. I really liked the larger format ones that came out at the start of the edition, and they seem to have shifted to these smaller tarot card size ones, and I get it. They're smaller, they don't take up as much room on the table, but I quite liked the size of those old ones. But yeah, full set, it's got all your kind of like army rules in here and all your unit rules too. And before we jump ahead and have a look at the Battletome, we'll have a quick look through the instructions as well, just to see how these guys go together. And as you can see, a few of them have got different multiple assembly options too, and it will talk through kind of your options for that. So the Wight King on Skeletal Steed, you've got the option of building it as a Wight Lord as well. 2 different units, they both look really cool, and I think I'll have to pick up another one of these to build as the other character. But yeah, it doesn't look like it's too many parts. I think it'll be a quite nice one to put together. Looks a really, really dynamic model when it's kind of stood on that open grave as well. And then the Barrow Knights, they're very cool too. Looks like you've got some options there. Obviously you can build your command or build them with the lances, which look really meaty actually. So yeah, very, very cool models. Again, it looks like you build up all the horses first and then just pick the kind of rider that you want and they plug into the top. So yeah, they're nice. And then finally the instructions for the Barrow Guard as well. So again, they're not too many pieces. They look like they're 5 pieces per model. So that's going to be really quite easy to put together. I really like the champion with the big mace. He's very cool. So yeah, I think I'm going to build a combination of sword, shield and two-handed weapon just to kind of, I guess, show off all the different units and have a bit of variety across all the army. So what we're going to do now is have a jump to the future and we'll have a look at the Soulblight Gravelords Battletome. So let's dive into the new Battletome and see what has changed. Now from a rules point of view, there's some changes, not massive ones. So it's not a million miles away from the faction pack. But yeah, there are some important changes here that we'll go through. First of all, from a kind of visuals and kind of layout point of view, absolutely gorgeous looking book. Something they've done really well with all of the 4th edition Battletomes. They look absolutely gorgeous, filled with lore, lots of nice new artwork in here as well that kind of really captures the look of the Soulblight Gravelords. Very kind of like visually striking book, this one as well, which is always good. We've still got fold out sections as well, so we've got a full fold out map of Shaish as well, which is cool. And there's a lot of bits in this book as well that are kind of written from the perspective of a character, kind of talking about, you know, Nagash and the Soulblight curse. And I kind of like that from a universe building point of view, where they kind of dive into the narrative and make things feel very kind of like lived in and in universe. I thought that's one of the good things they've done with the narrative book, so to see that within the Battletomes as well is really, really good. Another thing in here as well, which if you've picked up any of the other Battletomes this edition, rather than a traditional kind of like centre section with all of the kind of like miniature shots, instead they've got like a beast diary. So you'll get a page per kind of like unit alongside the model shots as well, which is a really nice way of doing it. So as we go through here, you see we've got a page for each unit in the book going through with their model shots and then lore about them. So that's something I really like about these 4th edition books. I much prefer this than just the kind of, you know, 8 pages of miniature shots that they used to have in the middle of it. From a new player, being able to identify kind of the models and see, kind of find out about them and match up what models which, that helps for new starters. But then also for kind of experienced kind of players, I much rather be able to kind of go through this way, because before they had the kind of lore pages but without the miniature shots, and then they had the miniature shots separate later on, which always seemed a little bit disjointed. So yeah, really, really nice book. And yeah, I mean, they've been going through pretty fast with the Battletomes, so it's good to see that they're keeping the quality on these as well. Like I say, from a rules point of view, as we'll see in a minute, there's not massive changes over the faction pack, but there are some differences which we'll go into. There are also some kits that have been removed as well from the range, which we'll go into in a little bit. So, if we jump into the rules themselves, the faction rules are pretty much the same with a couple of changes. So now we've got the Curse Sepulchres. You get to put 3 of them down. 1 of them goes in your territory, 1 of them goes outside of enemy territory, and the 3rd one can go anywhere on the board. And you can basically use those as points to bring your units that you've left off the board for the Rising Dead rule. So basically it's deep strike for lack of a better word. You leave them off the board, then you can deploy them within 6 inches of the edge of the battlefield, or within 6 inches of a friendly Curse Sepulchre. So that gives you a little kind of like focal points where you can rise your guys up. In addition, when you bring back your recycled units through Endless Legions, they can key off the Curse Sepulchres as well. I think previously it could be any terrain piece or a hero, where now it's a hero or a Curse Sepulchre. So yeah, vampires have still got the hunger, where they heal each turn, and they heal more if they've used a fight ability. and you still have Deathly Invocation as well, where you pick a hero and then you pick 3 friendly units within 12 inches, and then they can heal them or raise kind of dead models. So all that stuff still works exactly the same as it used to. Moving on to the battle formations, again these are all exactly the same as well, there's no changes here. So Legion of Shaiish allows you to do an additional Deathly Invocation. Bacchanal of Blood is your vampire one, so your casting's better for vampires that aren't in combat, and you add 1 to wound when you charge, which is very good if you're a vampire keyed list. Death Stench Drove is your zombie one, so your dead walkers get to pile in at the end of the turn and then do some mortal wounds as they're kind of chomping on them. And then Death March is your skeletal based one, so your Deathrattle get +1 rend if they've charged and they outnumber their target. So there's a few conditions there, but it's fairly easy to be, outnumbering with Deathrattle. If you take, big reinforced units of 20 skeletons, get them charging in, the extra rend's going to be really useful, especially if you do it on Barrow Guard or something like that. And the new Barrow Knights as well, they can be really nasty with an extra pip of rend on them, so that's pretty cool. Heroic traits are the same as we had in the faction pack. Artifacts of power have changed a bit as well, so 2 of them have gone. Instead we've now got the Terminus Clock, so you roll a dice on a 3+, until the start of your next turn. It's -1 for casting for enemy wizards within 18 inches, which is pretty cool. And then the Amulet of Graves, this allows you to, if one of your curse sepulchres has been destroyed during the battle, you can bring a fresh one on to replace it. So that's a handy little insurance if people are trying to destroy your grave sites to kind of limit your summoning. So yeah, that is a new one that has replaced an old one there. Spell Law is exactly the same, and we've got the 3 new manifestations as well. So the Hand and the Gash go off on a 7, and the Reliquary and the Sanguine Swarm go off on 6s. Thing worth noting, the Reliquary doesn't have any restriction to be outside of range of enemy units. That's a pretty cool one as well. We'll see that later on in the book what it does. But basically you can use it either to heal your kind of heroes or to give them extra attacks. So yeah, pretty cool. But like I say, we'll look at those in a little bit. We will go through the stuff in the book. I'm only going to call out things where there's changes here. I have done a full deep dive over on spruesandbrews.com as well, where I go into all of the changes. I'll try and remember them all here to call them out where they are. There's some minor stuff that's tweaked, and there's some bigger stuff in there as well. And obviously we've got the new units that have been added. There are a number of units that have been removed from the book though. So the Bloodseeker Palanquin, the 3rd build for the Mortis engine, that has been removed. And the characters from Cursed City, so we've still got Radagar in here, but all the other characters from Cursed City, so Torgallion, the kind of Watchmaster guy, the Kasagi Night Guard, all those other models from Cursed City, their profiles have been removed from the book. So that's a massive shame, because they were really, really nice models, especially, I forget what they're called now, the Bloodborne or something, the little kind of vampire thrall guys, which looked quite lithe and fast. Again, they're all gone as well. And the Vargskir. I can only assume it's because they're not going to be selling the models anymore, so they've removed the rules from the book. I'd have liked to have seen them stay because I think they were really fun, but I get it. But it is a shame if you do have them in your army. So that is one thing to bear in mind. They are more than likely legends now, and hopefully they've still got legends profiles over on Warhammer Community. But yeah, onto the kind of, most of the War Scrolls haven't really got much of the way of changes in. If you've got the faction pack, a lot of it's going to be very, very similar. There's a few tweaks on these characters. So Lauka Vi has had her spell changed a little bit, so she now has to pick a non-unique Gravelords monster, and then her ability adds D3 attacks. If they've got any companion ones, you have to pick that. if they haven't got any companion ones, you can now affect companion weapons, which you couldn't do before, which means you can use this now on a Vengorian Lord because he isn't unique. He hasn't got a companion, so you can now increase his attacks by D3 as well. Obviously, you can't use him on the named Lord on Vampire, on Dragon, or Nagash or anything. Really is going to be your kind of dragons and your Vengorian Lords that's affecting, but it's nice that it can now affect him. Speaking of the Vengorian Lord, he's had a bit of a change as well now. Previously, I think if a monster killed something within 12 inches, he got to heal up, something like that. It's kind of switched the other way now. So if he inflicts any damage points to an enemy unit, he doesn't have to wipe it out, he just needs to damage it. Himself and all Gravelords monsters within 12 inches get to heal D3, which is really, really cool. I think that's a really strong ability, and if you're running lots of monsters, he's a nice one to run alongside them. So yeah, really like him. Blades of the Hollow King. So this replaces Kado's old profile. So that isn't in the book anymore. His rules are basically the same, but in addition he's joined by an additional 2 characters. So Aurelius basically can be used to either increase their power level, so they can cast an additional spell per turn, or to allow them to reroll ones when casted. I'd probably go for the additional spell cast myself, but obviously that's a situational one where you might want to reroll ones instead. And then we've got a bit of a Sisendra. There's a bit of a combat blender, 8 attacks with crit mortals. Only 1 rend and 1 damage each, but rolling lots of dice trying to look for those mortals. She's got the ability to give Kado crit mortals as well, or give the unit a 5+ ward save. Now at the time of filming this, I haven't got the points values, but it is essentially a 2-cast wizard, infantry wizard at that, for, you know, any shenanigans with not being able to get shot and stuff, with each model having 6 health each. That's an 18 wound 2-cast wizard that can hide behind infantry units and not get shot at range. They seem pretty good to me. Obviously, depending on the points, I've got a feeling they might be quite expensive, but I think that's a really, really fun one, and I'm looking forward to picking up the models because they look really, really cool. Like I say, Radikar's still in here, but his friends from Cursed City are gone. Otherwise, all the profiles are the same here. We do have the other vampire characters though, they are still in the book. And again with the same profiles. Vampire Lords on Nightmare Steed is a new model that's coming in the range. And they look pretty cool as well. They're a pretty decent combat unit, 5 attacks, 3s and 3s, rend 2, 2 damage, plus 1 damage on the charge. So it will sting when it hits you. And they also give +1 rend to nearby Blood Knights, which is handy. The main ability, it's a bit wordy, but essentially after he's charged, he can allow a unit of Blood Knights to charge. And you might think, well, you can do that anyway. The reason for this rule, it allows you to countercharge with the Vampire Lord and then use that ability to immediately charge with a unit of Blood Knights as well. So that is very, very strong, really. I think that's going to be a big threat to kind of lurk around. They get +1 to the charge or reroll charges. They get to reroll charges too. So, you know, even a longbow charge, you can try and gamble it there and potentially get him and a unit of Blood Knights in combat, which would be pretty nasty, to be honest. The Vampire Lord's had a slight tweak to its profile. The Sanguine Blur now goes off in the hero phase rather than the movement phase, but bar that, not really a massive change to how they work. The Revenant Draconith is built out of the dual kit with Prince Vordry. A generic Vampire Lord and a dragon isn't a thing anymore, so you either take the named character on a dragon or just a generic dragon. They've had a bit of a rework, so the breath weapon now gets 5 attacks flat rather than being d6 attacks. Other than that, the profile's pretty much the same as the old one. There are some cool tweaks though. Obviously you can leave him in the sky and deep strike him down. He's got a new rampage ability though, where on a 2+ on a D3, you do that many mortal wounds, you then heal yourself that many wounds, and then you take off back into the sky, ready to come down next turn. So I quite like that, popping up and down and you know, doing a bit of damage at the end, healing them up and then disappearing to come down next turn. The fact that you can do it at the end of any turn as well means that you could do it in your opponent's turn too if you wanted to, ready to bring him down in your turn on an objective or something. So I do think that's going to be quite cool, and again, depending on points, if you can fit in one of those to do some shenanigans like that, I think it'd be pretty useful. So he's cool. Blood Knights, Vargeists, True Blades have all got the same profiles that they used to have. And likewise, the Mortis engine is the same. The Coven Throne comes back, and with the Blood Palanquin gone, the rule that used to have is now been added to the Coven Throne. So it gets the Promising Concoction, which basically once per game you can give up to 3 vampire units plus 1 attack, which again is pretty good, you know, depending on who you give it to, that could be quite handy. And it's units as well, so a big unit of Blood Knights, give them all an extra attack each maybe. So yeah, cool that it's inherited that ability, and the old one has kind of fallen out of the range. A lot of the new stuff in the book, though, is Deathrattle, which is no surprise with the theme of the box being Deathrattle. We get quite a lot of changes here for the various Wights and Barrow models here. The Wight King on a skeletal steed is actually a brand new profile. He's very, very good, really good combat profile. He can pick an objective or terrain feature in enemy territory, and he can give friendly Deathrattle +1 to hit when they're within 6 inches of it, which is pretty cool. His Ancient Barrow Curso is amazing. If he gets a critical hit on a unit, that unit is -1 to their save for the rest of the game, and there's no limit to the number of units you can curse. You can only curse each unit once, but that does mean that you can strip off the save of units, and that will kind of factor in before end as well. So yeah, he's going to be really good, and I can see people running a couple of these to try and strip the saves off units, and again, he's pretty good in a fight too. So yeah, I think this one's going to be really, really cool. The Wight King does get a bit of a tweak as well, so he still has his ability where he can give he can let a unit fight after him and then give them +1 to hit. Again, letting those kind of Deathrattle units hit a little bit harder. But he's got a new rule as well, that during the hero phase he can pick a unit, and on a 2+, he gives them crits 2 hits. So you put that on something like a big unit of Barrow Guard or Barrow Knights or something, and you can put out a lot of damage, especially if you kind of then stack into the you know, the Deathrattle formation where they get +1 rend when they charge and they're outnumbering. That can be quite nasty. The Wight Lord's a new name, but it's essentially the old Wight King profile. So he adds 1 to charge for cavalry, and he can fight, and then he can make a unit of cavalry fight. So that's basically the old, in fact even down to the stats, it's the old Wight King profile, and then the new Wight King is actually a brand new profile who hits a little bit harder. Again, I can see good call for having both of these with a big unit of Barrow Knights to be really, really good. Deathrattle skeletons stay the same, as do the Barrow Guard, who are basically renamed Grave Guard. You get both options for weapons in the box, but it's just a generic profile of a white blade. Barrow Knights are basically Black Knights, but made a lot better. Imagine if you take the concept of a Black Knight and kind of merged it with a Barrow Guard. These are basically just mounted Grave Guard now. So that means they've now got an innate built-in crit mortals, which is really good. You used to have to charge in order to get that. And they get a 5+ ward save if they're nearby a hero. The hero gets a 5+ ward save as well. So that's really good. The same rule that the Barrow Guard have got to keep your heroes ticking, and in a big kind of Barrow army, yeah, a lot of 5+ saves to get through. In addition, the really cool bit for the Barrow Knights is at the end of every turn you get to return a slain model, which is amazing. we had a game, me and Dave, Khorne versus Gravelords, and he could not chew through this unit of Barrow Knights. With a combination of like rallying and bringing models back and Deathly Invocation, it is so hard to get rid of these. If you've got a big reinforced unit of 10 that are, you know, doing crit mortals all over the place as well, these are really, really good. Again, depending on points, they might be more than the old Black Knights. We've been basing our games based on the most recent profiles. But yeah, depending on points, I think a big unit of 10 of these is going to be very good, especially if you've got them backed up with the 2 characters as well. As for that, the rest of the units are pretty much the same. The Necromancer remains. The Corpus Cart surprisingly remains as well. I had expected that to disappear to the old world, but that is still in the range as well and still does what it always used to do, along with the zombies, the Fellbats and the Dire Wolves, all having the same profiles. We do get 3 new manifestations in the book though. Hand and Nagash is really cool. Basically, if a unit's in combat with it, you get to pick one of 2 things. Either you reduce their maximum control score to 1, which can really annoy people, and you know, say if you've got a Mega Gargant setting on an objective, have this kind of reduce its control score to 1 can be really frustrating, where you can sneak in with a little unit of Dire Wolves or something and take the objective. Or what you can do is stop the target from moving as well. So again, this worked quite well in the battles that we had as well, where the hand pops up, holds the unit in place, which means you've got to kill the hand before you can go and do anything else, which is really, really good. It's also got the ability to be removed from the battlefield, placed anywhere 9 inches away from the enemy, and then on a D3 roll of 2+, it can move that many inches too. So you kind of get the advantage of being able to teleport it, but you get to mitigate the charge a little bit with reducing that distance. So yeah, really, really like the Hand of Nagash. I think that's going to be really fun. The Unholy Reliquary, basically you summon it, and then your heroes can choose to use it to heal. And if you heal, it stays on the battlefield, and you know, each turn you can keep healing from the same one, or you can choose to remove it from the battlefield and increase your attacks by 1, and that is all of your attacks as well. So yeah, again, a really good one. You know, Nagash or Prince Vordry or someone with a load more attacks is really good to see. And then the Sanguine Swarm, it's a bit of a fragile one that's got the potential of doing damage. So it's got 10 attacks per kind of base to it. They hit on 5, wound on 5, but they've got crit mortals, so you can try and get some stuff through, and every mortal that you do heals you a wound as well, which is cool. But it's only got 6 health shared between both of the 2 bases, so it is quite fragile but has quite a lot of output. So again, another fun one, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that does in battles. And then finally the Curse Sepulchre, as well as all the other things that we've talked about. You can use it as a focus point for casting your manifestations for range and line of sight. So that's pretty handy if you want to get those into important places on the battlefield. It does only work on the Gravelords manifestations though, so you can't, you know, throw purple suns out of it and stuff. But yeah, being a little focus point for that hand to pop out is pretty cool. And in addition, if models die nearby it, you heal the Sepulchre as well. So yeah, really like them. I really like the kit, and I'm looking forward to that coming out, because I desperately want to build that. Now obviously we've got a new Battletome, so there's a new Spearhead, and this one's a really good one. You get 20 skeletons, you get 10 Barrow Guard, 5 Barrow Knights, and a Wight on foot. I think I'll be picking this one up because I want to do a very kind of Barrow themed armies with lots of Barrow Guard and Barrow Knights, because I think they look really, really cool. So yeah, pretty good box. I like this one. Obviously, if you like the vampire-y stuff, you might want to pick up the previous one if you can still get it, because I suspect that this one will replace it very, very shortly. As ever, you get a nice painting guide in here that takes you through painting your Spearhead. And then from a rules point of view, a lot of the mechanics that we see in the main Gravelords army. So with the Rising Dead rule, one of your skeleton units stays off the board and can pop up during the game. And then you've also got an ability that reduces the rend of enemy weapons as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I quite like this. I think it's going to be quite fun. And then yeah, profiles are very similar to the profiles of the units in the main book as well, even down to the Barrow Knights coming back every turn. So I think this will be a fun one to play with, especially a hard one to chew through. Now, for Path to Glory, we do get the Anvil of Apotheosis again. This works as it has done in all the other books. You basically pick a kind of profile that you want to work on. So you start off with a generic kind of war scroll, and then you can pick whether you want to be a combat vampire, a casty vampire, a necromancer, or a Wight King. Those different options will give you different rules, and then you can build on them by giving them mounts, by giving them abilities, by giving your mounts abilities. And there's some really fun stuff you can do here, like for example beast form. You can have your vampire turn into a fellbat, fly across the battlefield as a fellbat, and then turn back into a vampire again, which is cool. One character I made up was a necromancer on a nightmare that can breathe fire, which is pretty cool. Or if you wanted to do maybe a Wight King mounted on a dragon, again, that's another option you can do. There's lots of room here for creating your own custom characters. And what's cool here as well, obviously we mentioned that a lot of the characters out of Curse City have been removed from the book. With this, you can create, you know, profiles that can represent those models, which is pretty nice. So we get 2 armies of renown in here. The first is the Knights of the Crimson Keep. This is all about your mounted vampires. So Prince Vordry has to be included if he's a general. Vampire Lords and Nightmare Steeds, Blood Knights, Revenant Dracoths. So dragons, vampires on horses, all that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. They get the ability to charge after they've already charged. So obviously for a command point, you can key off that Blood Knight ability where they do damage, where they're moving over things, and charge the same unit again. Or even a different unit. You know, you can charge into one and then charge from them into a different unit. It's pretty cool. In addition, you can leave your units off the board as well and then bring them on during the game. So seems quite a fun one. You are limited with the options obviously, but it'll look really cool on the battlefield. The Barrow Legion's the other one. This is all about your Deathrattle units. So obviously you're not going to be able to take any casters here because you've just got Deathrattle, but you still have recycling units. And something that's worth mentioning with recycling units, I forgot to mention back earlier in the book, that doesn't cost a command point anymore, it's just free. Bringing back a half-size unit during the game. The Barrow Legion still get that. They get to put their curse sepulchres together as a big kind of like royal crypt, where your kind of Wight King is buried. That represents his home. And while it's on the battlefield, from the 3rd battle onwards, every single enemy unit is -1 to their saves, which is amazing. So obviously you've got no magic here, but you've got a lot of cool stuff that's going to chomp through enemy armour. With the Grave Sentinels rule, while you've got anti-charge -1 rend on your Barrow units while they're near the sepulture. So comboed with the fact that from turn 3 onwards everyone's got -1 save anyway, really kind of makes it quite a nasty army to chew through, kind of enemy units. So I'm looking forward to giving this one a go. You get to have 3 in total artifacts in your army too. So yeah, I really like this one, and I'm going to be planning on doing a bit of a Barrow Legion force because I think they look fun. If you do fancy the new Dragon or the new Blades of the Hollow King unit as well, you do get Regiment of Renown rules in here to be able to use them in Flesh Eater Courts, Nighthorn or Ossiarch Bone Reapers too. So that's really, really fun, and means that you can use those in other armies. So yeah, really, really cool book. Obviously not massive changes from the previous one, but there's enough there to keep things interesting. So what we're going to do now is have a look at the miniatures and see what they look like. So I've been furiously working on these over the last few weeks, but I've managed to get the entire contents of the Deathrattle box painted, and I had so much fun working on these. We'll have a look at the Wight Lord first. So this is the kind of alternate build of the Wight King. I've got the old Wight King model, I think it was from a previous box maybe, which looks really cool. So I wanted to build this as a Wight Lord, so I had one of each. I'll definitely be picking up another one of these kits though, because it's so good. So many nice little details, such as you can just see on his tomb there's some like coins spilling out of where it's maybe been raided. There's a bit of a skeleton climbing out from behind some of the kind of like fallen statuary. And the Wight King himself looks so cool. Really kind of sinister looking. I've kind of gone for a burnished kind of bronze armour on these, because if they're in barrows we're talking what, Bronze Age are we? So I wanted to go for that kind of theme for the armour for them. It also differentiated the more elite barrow units from the standard Deathrattle skeletons as well. So yeah, very nice model, and I'm looking forward to painting another one really. He's going to be hanging out with his Barrow Knights, which are a massive upgrade over the old Black Knights. Now the Black Knights, the problem with that kit is that it was a dual kit, so it had to build the, I forget what they're called now, Hex Wraiths at the same time, which for some kits dual builds work really well, but for some of them you kind of get the worst of both worlds because it's got to kind of compromise. These obviously just build Barrow Knights, so they haven't got that problem, and they look absolutely gorgeous. Now they don't look too bad side by side. I've not actually brought any down with me. They don't look too bad side by side with the Black Knights, and while I've only got 5 of them, I've been using 5 old Black Knights alongside them to pad out the unit, because I really do think you want to take these guys in units of 10 just to take advantage of all their special rules. When you've got one coming back every single turn, it makes them so hard to shift. And yeah, they can put out a bit of a fight as well now, especially that they do mortals, crit mortals all the time, and it isn't dependent on them charging either. It means that they're a much more effective and reliable unit than they used to be, and they look really cool as well. Like I say, I love all the Barrow stuff in the new book. I'm glad that it seems to be something that they've done for Age of Sigmar. Each kind of like release, the new models they've themed around a certain subsect of the army. So we saw all the Git mob stuff for the Gloomspite Gits, and the same with all this Barrow stuff here. I'm sure I've got room for a dragon though. The Barrow Guard themselves, obviously they're updated Grave Guard, and the really nice thing about these is that they're not very many parts per model. So they go together really easily compared to the old Grave Guard. If you've ever built the old Grave Guard, you'll know what an absolute pain they are to build, and these guys are so much easier to build and so much nicer to paint. I gave mine all the sword and shield because I thought it looked nice. I will be picking up another unit of these. Probably will pick up the Combat Patrol when it comes out. Combat Patrol, what's it called, the Spearhead, when it comes out, to add some more, and some more Barrow Knights, because I'd love to do an army, the big Barrow Legion, Army of Renown. I think it'd be really fun. So yeah, very much want to try and do that, because I think it'd be a really fun one on the table. But yeah, these guys are cool. They've got a musician as well, so you can take advantage of the boost for rallying as well. So yeah, very nice unit. So yeah, that is a look at the new Soulblight Gravelords Deathrattle army set and the Battletome. Presumably in a couple of weeks we'll be getting the rest of the range, so we will check that out on the site when it comes out, and we're going to do a battle report with the Soulblight Gravelords as well, to see how they do on the battlefield. Really enjoy painting these up, and it's kind of got me eager to paint some old bits that I've not finished for my Gravelords army. I've had quite a big Gravelord army. Some bits of that are from Warhammer Fantasy back in the day, So yeah, these new bits have kind of reinvigorated my love for those, so really excited to check out some new things like the dragon as well. I think there's a few fun lists you can put together with the book as well. The fact that you can lean into your kind of zombie themed army, Deathrattle themed army, or vampire themed army is really nice, and I think the Deathrattle have had a bit of a boost with some of the rules changes here as well to bring them in line with some of those other ways of playing with the army. But yeah, if you have enjoyed this video, why not give us a follow, give the video a like, share it with your friends, tell people to come and check out the website. All that cool stuff helps with engagement and gets more people kind of enjoying this content. I do have a full write-up over on spruesandbrews.com as well, where I go into more detail on the book. We've got some shots of the miniatures in there as well, and all the sprues and everything, so if you are interested in that, that is all over on the website too. And finally, if you do want to support the site as well, we do have an affiliate link to Element Games in the description. Anything that you get through that link goes towards the site and helps with all the running costs and you know, keep everything going for the website. So yeah, I hope you have a great weekend. Let us know if you are going to be buying the Deathrattle army set. I'm kind of tempted to pick up another one to kind of pad out these units. I think that would be a pretty good call if you wanted to do a Barrow Legion army, or are you planning on maybe doing a Blood Knight heavy army with lots of dragons and the new Vampire Lord or Nightmare? Let us know what you're doing. But until next time, have a great weekend and we'll see you soon.